If you are one of the millions of Americans who takes a blood pressure pill every day, this video holds information that doctors are urging you to hear today. It is information that could fundamentally change your protection against serious cardiac events simply by adjusting one daily habit. You know the routine. Maybe you just finished dinner. You reach for that small bottle of medication. You take the pill, you wash it down, and you feel responsible. You feel safe. But what if that exact time you chose is unknowingly leaving you exposed to a significant danger? Today, we are talking about the single most common, silent mistake people make with their blood pressure medication. This mistake has nothing to do with skipping a dose or changing your diet. It has everything to do with the clock, specifically, the time on the clock when the pill enters your system. For decades, many doctors advised patients to take their blood pressure medicine first thing in the morning, often with breakfast. It made sense, it was easy to remember, it fit the schedule. But the latest medical warnings, based on groundbreaking long-term studies, are showing that this common morning habit might actually be counterproductive for certain drugs. In some cases, it leaves your body dangerously unprotected during the most vulnerable hours of the 24-hour cycle. This is critical information, especially for anyone over the age of 60. High blood pressure is often called the silent killer for a reason. It rarely gives warnings. But high blood pressure is not a static condition. It does not stay at the same number all day long. Your blood pressure is controlled by your circadian rhythm, your body's internal 24-hour clock. In a healthy body, your blood pressure naturally dips at night. It should drop by about 10 to 20% when you are sleeping. This dip, which doctors call nocturnal dipping, is absolutely essential. It gives your heart and your blood vessels a necessary rest. If you don't experience this necessary drop, you are labeled a non-dipper. Being a non-dipper dramatically increases your risk of major cardiovascular events. It means your heart is constantly fighting, even when you should be resting. It is fighting high-pressure spikes all night long. And here's where the common medication mistake comes in. If you take your blood pressure medication in the early morning, it works best during the day, which is good. But as the drug slowly leaves your system hours later, often right when you are settling down for sleep, its effectiveness drops off. The peak protection wears down just as your body is entering those critical nocturnal hours where blood pressure often resists dipping. This lack of nighttime protection means that during the final hours of sleep, and specifically in the critical early morning window, the most dangerous time for a heart attack or stroke, your blood pressure may be spiking high and uncontrolled. This early morning surge is deadly. Doctors are now confirming that for many common blood pressure medications, shifting the timing from the morning routine to the evening routine provides superior protection during those high-risk hours. It is a simple shift, but it requires immediate attention and discussion with your prescribing physician. This is called chronotherapy, the practice of timing drug administration to the body's natural rhythms. You might be asking, why didn't my doctor tell me this before? The guidelines have changed significantly only very recently, driven by large-scale research that provided unmistakable data points. The findings were stark and powerful. One major study, involving thousands of patients over several years, showed that taking all prescribed blood pressure medications just before bedtime, instead of upon waking, resulted in a staggering 45% reduction in the overall risk of dying from or suffering a major cardiovascular event. That is nearly half the risk removed just by changing the time of day you take the pill. This is not a minor adjustment. It is a potentially life-saving strategy for managing your chronic condition. Now, we need to be precise. Not all blood pressure pills are created equal in this scenario. Changing the timing of certain drug types is safer and more effective than others. And depending on your specific health profile, whether you have specific kidney conditions or if you take diuretics, the timing advice might be very specific to you. You need to know exactly which common pills are the focus of this medical warning. You need to understand the mechanism behind why the nighttime dose works better for certain drug classes, like ACE inhibitors and ARBs. In Part 2, we will dive deep into the specific list of medications doctors are now recommending to be taken at night. We will look at why taking some common water pills or diuretics at night can be problematic, and how to safely navigate that specific challenge to ensure you get that critical nocturnal dip protection. We are talking about something deeply personal now: your sleep. You follow the directions on the bottle. You take your pill in the morning, maybe with breakfast. You feel protected all day long. But here's the danger zone that doctors are focusing on right now. Your body does not manage blood pressure the same way when you are awake versus when you are asleep. During the day, your blood pressure naturally rises slightly as you deal with stress, movement, and activity. This is normal. But once you lay down for the night, your body is supposed to perform a crucial task. Your blood pressure must drop significantly. This drop should be about 10 to 20% below your daytime average. This allows your heart and your major blood vessels a much-needed rest. It gives them time to recover from the strain of the day. This essential nighttime decrease has a clinical name. It is called dipping. You are a nighttime dipper. But what if your blood pressure stays stubbornly high all night long? What if it fails to dip? This is where the mistake everyone makes suddenly becomes dangerous. When your blood pressure does not fall while you sleep, doctors call you a non-dipper. Being a non-dipper is not a mild inconvenience. It is a massive strain on your entire system. Imagine running a marathon every single night without stopping. That is what your heart is doing. This constant high pressure during the quiet hours of sleep is one of the clearest known predictors of serious future events. It radically increases your risk of stroke. It raises your chance of having a major cardiac event, often right before dawn. And recent studies have shown that 1 in 3 seniors taking blood pressure medication are non-dippers, even when they think their blood pressure is perfectly controlled. The problem is the medication timing. The schedule you have followed for years might be failing you when you need the most protection. The traditional advice was simple: take your pill when you are likely to remember it. For most, that means morning. If you take your pill at 7 a.m., it reaches its peak effectiveness sometime around midday. By the time the midnight hours approach, the full protective effect of that medication is already diminishing. It is wearing off. It leaves you wide open to those non-dipping pressure spikes. Your body's natural rhythm, your circadian clock, is actively working against you during those hours. Your body releases hormones like adrenaline and cortisol early in the morning, around 4 a.m. to 6 a.m., to prepare you to wake up. These hormones naturally trigger a rise in blood pressure. This morning surge is the most common time for cardiac events to occur. If your medication is already weakening when that natural morning surge hits, your protection level is dangerously low. The mistake, then, is taking the pill so early that you are defenseless during the night and that critical pre-dawn window. The solution, championed by doctors who specialize in this field, is known as chronotherapy. It means matching the medication's peak power to the body's greatest period of vulnerability. This is why doctors are now urgently asking, are you taking your blood pressure pill after dinner? For many common types of blood pressure medication, switching the timing to a later dose, often taken with or right after dinner, solves the non-dipping problem entirely. If you take that pill at 7 p.m., the medication reaches its maximum protective strength exactly when your body is most prone to dangerous spikes. It covers the whole night. The difference in outcomes is astonishing. One landmark study tracked thousands of patients for 6 years. They split the groups into morning dosers and evening dosers. All took the exact same medication. The group that took their blood pressure medication at bedtime saw their risk of a major cardiovascular event, things like heart attacks or strokes, cut by nearly half. That is the power of switching the timing. That is the danger of the mistake everyone makes. But here is where you must be careful. Not every blood pressure medication should be moved. In the next part, we will discuss the 2 major classes of medication that must be moved to the evening, the ones responsible for this non-dipping danger. We will also cover the medications you absolutely cannot move, those that must stay in the morning. We will start with the first class, the one prescribed most often to seniors, the pill that works directly on your kidneys. You now understand the dangerous impact of taking your blood pressure medication too late, specifically after that large evening meal. But we must clarify the core danger zone. When doctors issue this warning, they are focused on what happens inside your body between midnight and 6 a.m. This is the true danger window. Your heart does not get to clock out just because you are sleeping. Every healthy body experiences what is called dipping. Dipping means that your blood pressure naturally lowers by 10 to 20% once you fall asleep. This dip is crucial. It gives your overworked heart and sensitive blood vessels the essential rest they desperately need. It cleans the slate for the next day. However, if your medication is taken too late in the evening, it has not reached its peak protective power by those critical early morning hours. This results in non-dipping. Non-dipping means your blood pressure stays dangerously elevated while you sleep. It continues to pound against your artery walls hour after hour. Your body is completely unprotected during the high-stress nocturnal period. Research confirms that people classified as non-dippers face a significantly higher risk of serious cardiovascular events. We are talking about stroke and heart attack. This is the exact hidden mistake doctors are trying to correct when they discuss nighttime timing. It is not just about avoiding a high reading during your morning visit. It is about protecting your brain and heart while you are unconscious. Now, let's bring this back to the after-dinner routine. Why does taking the pill immediately after your largest, perhaps saltiest meal make this worse? When you eat a large dinner, especially one high in sodium or processed food, your body requires a huge volume of fluid to process that meal. This increased fluid volume immediately increases the pressure in your blood vessels. You are effectively introducing a large natural spike in BP, just as your evening dose is beginning its work. The medication must now fight against that immediate post-meal load. This delays its ability to fully take hold and protect you during that critical 2 a.m. window. If you are currently taking your medication at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., right after clearing the dinner dishes, you are maximizing the risk of this non-dipping phenomenon. Your body is fighting the food load and your medication peak is occurring while you are deeply asleep, but too late to stop the early morning pressure surge. This timing challenge becomes even more severe if you are taking certain long-acting medications designed to provide 24-hour coverage. We often hear patients say, "I just forget to take it unless it's tied to my routine, like my dinner." While consistency is vital, placing the medication at the wrong time in your 24-hour cycle actually negates the benefit, potentially replacing it with risk. Think of it this way. Your blood pressure follows a specific clock. We need the medication to counteract the pressure surge that happens when your body prepares to wake up. This pre-dawn surge is biologically programmed, but we must blunt it with a protective shield. If you are serious about protecting your long-term cardiovascular health, you must adjust your thinking from linking the pill to the meal, and start linking the pill to the biological necessity of the nocturnal dip. There are specific classes of blood pressure medications where this timing mistake is particularly dangerous. If your doctor has prescribed you an ACE inhibitor, like lisinopril, or an angiotensin receptor blocker, ARB, like losartan or valsartan, you must pay extremely close attention to the peak effectiveness window we discussed. These are the medications most commonly involved in studies that show a significant benefit to what is called chronotherapy, or timing the treatment precisely to your body's rhythm. But knowing the medication class is only half the battle. The most protective change you can make requires understanding how your specific body reacts, and this is where many people skip a vital step in self-monitoring. Before we reveal the single, most critical timing adjustment doctors recommend for maximizing your nighttime protection and correcting this common mistake, you must first gather some specific information. In our final part, we will detail exactly when to shift your dose, but you must know how to confirm that the new timing is working for your specific condition and prescription. We will explain the simple, inexpensive monitoring tool that doctors urge every patient over 60 to own. It allows you to confirm your BP is dipping, thus confirming your heart is finally resting. Stay with us. We are now going to walk through the exact steps for correcting the timing mistake, starting with the essential protective step that must come before any medication adjustment. The stakes are incredibly high, and it is time to face the critical consequences of this common dinner time mistake. We have discussed the when and the why of blood pressure dipping. Now, let's talk about the specific danger that doctors are desperately trying to warn you about, the danger caused by taking your pill too late. The greatest risk is not high blood pressure. The greatest risk is a sudden, dangerous drop in blood pressure while you are sleeping. This is called nocturnal hypotension. Think about this. You take your pill at 7 p.m. with your final bite of dinner. The medication peaks hours later, often between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. If you are already a natural dipper, this peak dosage hammers your blood pressure down far too low. Your body struggles to cope. This low pressure means less oxygen reaching your brain and your vital organs. You wake up feeling groggy, confused, or desperately needing to rush to the bathroom. This is the moment of maximum risk. The combination of low blood pressure and rushing movement causes that feeling of lightheadedness, that sudden dizzy spell. If you rush, you fall. Falls are devastating for people 60 and over. They change lives immediately. But even worse, extreme nocturnal hypotension puts tremendous stress on the heart and brain while you sleep. Doctors warn this can increase your risk of stroke. It can increase the risk of silent heart attacks. The mistake you think is harmless, the timing of that pill, can be actively working against your health while you are resting. This is why blanket advice like, take it after dinner, must be scrutinized immediately. We need to flip the script. Instead of asking, did I remember my pill with dinner? You must start asking, will this pill peak when my blood pressure is naturally at its lowest? The goal is precision timing. We need to target the time when your pressure is starting to rise and keep the drug level stable through the day, fading out slightly before your natural overnight dip. For most people, separating the blood pressure pill from the dinner routine by 2 to 3 hours is the first step toward correcting the mistake. If you eat at 6 p.m., consider taking the pill closer to 9 p.m., or even waiting until bedtime at 10 p.m. This small shift allows the peak effect to hit closer to the morning hours, when your pressure is naturally starting to climb, thereby leveling out the daily fluctuations. However, you absolutely cannot make this change without guidance. Changing the timing of blood pressure medication must be supervised by your doctor. You must present them with the evidence that your current timing may be wrong. To help you advocate for yourself, here are the 3 critical questions you need to ask your physician during your next visit. Write them down now. Question 1. Doctor, based on my chronotype and my general routine, do you believe I am a non-dipper or a morning surger? Understanding your chronotype is the foundation of correcting the dinner mistake. If you surge rapidly in the morning, taking the medication at night often makes sense. If you are a dangerous non-dipper, medication timing needs radical adjustments. Demand to know which category you fall into. Question 2. Given my fatigue and occasional dizziness when I stand up in the morning, could we consider ambulatory blood pressure monitoring? Mention the dizzy. Spells. Mention the fatigue. Do not let them brush it off as normal aging. Demand the 24-hour test. This machine is the only tool that can confirm if your pill is crashing your pressure dangerously low overnight. If they resist, remind them you are worried about nocturnal stroke risk. Question 3. If I prove to be a non-dipper, should we consider splitting my dose or switching to a chronotherapy drug? Some modern blood pressure medications are specifically designed for chronotherapy, meaning they are engineered to be taken at night but only release their full dose slowly, peaking at dawn. They are designed specifically to fix the after-dinner mistake. Ask if this approach, often called dosing by time, is right for you. Your health security is tied to these answers. This small conversation is the protection trigger that prevents future catastrophe. You are not being difficult. You are being proactive about the doctor's own warning. Remember, the goal is not merely reducing a number. It is protecting your organs from dangerous pressure swings created by poor timing. It is about preventing the fall. We have detailed the most common mistake, taking the pill after dinner. We have explained why it happens and the deadly risks of nocturnal hypotension, but this conversation about blood pressure timing is not complete until we tackle the biggest confounding factor, the role of the other pills in your medicine cabinet. You might be taking a diuretic, a statin, or a pain reliever that dramatically alters how and when your blood pressure medication works. In the next crucial segment, we dive into the hidden drug interactions, the 3 specific combinations that make the after-dinner mistake exponentially more dangerous, and what the latest studies say about managing polypharmacy safely. Stay with us.